Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to the minutes for September 26th as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Just want to go over something for tonight's meeting. Robert's rules are in order. Well, as soon as we get into any of the public hearings, you're not to speak until you're called on. Please put your hand up, say your name and your address, and any questions that are asked through me, and we'll either get an answer or we'll have someone speak on that behalf. I do not want any crosstalk. The meetings get out of hand and we've got a lot on the table tonight, so we need to move right along in these meetings. That being said, I'm going to take a first agenda item as Mr. Karen.
65A. Millville Road.
65A Millville Road, 81P. Bring it on up. And bring it around the back, yeah. You got it. Let's take a look at it first.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. How you been? What do we got? Yep.
Oh. Okay, so I don't know.
I know, I'll do it for you, if that's okay with you.
Oh, that's fine. They changed the directions on me to select this.
I'll have you, I have you.
Oh, okay, good.
Sit down, make a motion, let Jimmy, Jim, you have to yell your, oh, Gail. Oh, we gotta sign him, sorry. All right. All right, need a motion.
Make a motion to approve 81P lot 65A Millville Street.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Who seconded that?
I did.
John did.
Oof,
I did.
your
Yeah.
voice is almost
You
sound.
mean, append
Okay.
anybody? Get these signed out of the way. Lot going tonight, so.
Yeah, no, that's why I think let's make a move on. What's the order we got, Jim?
It's today's date.
24.
Barry.
Hey, Barry,
I'm sorry.
I did it. I'm not good with text.
Your hand's not even shaking anymore.
No,
That's good, huh?
yeah, everything's a lot better now.
Awesome.
Oh, I couldn't even write before. It was like a mess. It was like a sixth grader.
That's good.
I was like a sixth grader. You know.
All right, so that's-
And this goes with it.
that goes
I
in.
don't just- Yeah, I knew that.
Hi, Barry.
Yeah.
Good, how are you? As long as we got four, right? We got more.
What are we doing?
Just 81P before Karen.
Right across, right near you.
I got abstain from it.
Yeah, right here.
We got
There you
four.
go, even better.
Did you sign?
He's gonna abstain.
Abstain.
Oh, he's gonna
Well,
abstain.
don't put Barry on there, because he's a neighbor. Yeah.
You're abstaining from that one?
Barry's abstaining, please.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, we gotta sign them. There. Oh, all right. You guys on special like me, I got mine in blue.
Huh?
You guys,
I can move so.
oh, do you?
I can move so. That's the all do.
Oh, the second part is blue. Special permit application.
Safe, huh?
What's that?
I hate we done stuff within the safe.
Yes, oh, Derek told you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get one. These guns
Like
going
most
around.
people, you went in, like, you know what you want, then you go around and say, oh, I really don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know exactly. I'm
All the time.
measuring.
Yeah.
Those that-
Money on this PS, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice.
Thank you very much, Ellen.
Really, Dave. I have the same one in my office. They're not really expensive.
I feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob, thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a good night.
Hey, Bob. Okay, so. Approve the minutes. That brings us to. We're gonna reopen the, or continue the public hearing for 3537 Hastings Street. Come up, gentlemen.
Hey, everyone.
You got the packages, huh?
Materials for you.
I brought my own, but that's okay. I'll use yours.
Computer, I couldn't open it. I couldn't-
Yeah, you had to download.
I did download.
Did you?
I downloaded it somewhere.
Presentation slides, if anyone wants to follow on.
Okay, yeah, please. Yeah, you guys, got a presentation going on up there?
We do, yeah.
It's gonna be up here? All right. Yeah, well, we got it, everybody noted, both as far as attendees. Good sign issue.
No, I didn't.
Fine. Practice.
We
Continue practice.
can send around.
Oh, for the 3530.
Ready?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
I can make the icons nice and small.
Thank you. Yeah, look at all this.
I think so.
But,
Yeah, I mean, the peer reviews are coming through.
There it is.
Yeah, I know, we have a,
There's a couple of packets, the May map by 11 packets got the response to peer review comments.
Oh, I thought I gave it
Policy
just-
review letter
thought I gave it
there,
to
As
you.
well as updated plans and some figures.
all right. Let me see. This is 67 Freeman Place special.
you guys want to see it?
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, at least
Please.
one, so you can.
11 by 17s too.
You know what? I might be all right. with you.
Yeah, it's hard to read.
Oh, it's hard to
A
read.
little easier to hold on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
We can put it back here. If we let any questions we want to look at, we can.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
It's not the presentation.
Like, can I share these, Bill? or put them-
Yeah, you can share 'em. Good to look at 'em. Move that stupid cut. Will you? Yeah, we go. We're good now.
This is.
Yeah, this is gonna follow the PowerPoint, yeah. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I know.
So this is existing conditions here?
That was like.
Yeah. 'Cause I don't see my rotary. It's right here on the front page. Oh, yeah.
Of the other
I mean,
page,
it's-
on the big one.
Pages in, you'll get the overall site
Yeah.
plan, how to give you. Good
Yeah, 'cause
overview.
this whole thing hinges on my traffic circle. No, no, it's on this one.
On this one here.
There it is.
Let's see 120, yeah.
C-120, yeah. That gives you an overall view of the project.
If I get in and out of my street.
Okay. All right, take it away.
Good. So Matt Moyen with Tetra Tech out of Marlborough, Massachusetts. It's been a few months since we've been in front of the board, so we just wanted to take a little bit of time tonight to get everyone caught back up and refresh everyone's memory on what we're proposing here. Can we just give you a next slide, Q, and we'll, so just product there. So right now we have an 18.3 acre parcel assemblage. It's made up of 18 and 20 Washington Street and 35 and 37 Hastings Street. On site today, you have the Mendon Driving Range and Mini Golf Course and Barry's Place, which is closed right on the Route 16. And you have two single-family residences along Washington Street. The address for one is 12 Washington and the other is 20 Washington Street. Next slide, please. So what we're proposing here is a mixed-use project. We have a residential component and we have a commercial component. The commercial component has frontage along Route 16. It's the 66,600 square foot shopping center. We have a market use, some indoor and outdoor retail space, a drive-through bank, and an accessory carousel up front. On the residential side, we have 27 age-restricted single-family homes. They're about 18,000 square feet in size. Site access and circulation for the commercial use is primarily from the roundabout at the intersection of Millville Road and the site entrance. We also have secondary access for delivery trucks and service vehicles just to the page north here behind the bank. Thank you. For the residential use, there are two proposed curb cuts along Washington Street. The one to the left is the primary access point for the residences. The one to the right is reconstructing the existing driveway at 12 Washington Street. That right curb cut on a day-to-day basis is intended to serve the existing historical home as well as a new barn-style structure. There's an emergency access gate that prohibits circulation from all the residences, but can be accessed by the fire department if needed. Landscaping for the project, as you can see, is pretty intense. On the residential side, we have street side trees. We also have substantial perimeter screening planting to help buffer the site. And we are primarily focusing on maintaining as much of that existing large growth vegetation along Washington Street. We're really attempting to maintain that historical feel as you drive down Washington Street. On the commercial side, it's primarily the typical commercial landscaping, interior islands, and some perimeter screening. Utilities, really everything's on site. We have an on-site public water system that's going to serve both uses. We have on-site wastewater disposal. In the top left, you can see where the residential systems are, and in the center of the screen, the commercial system. Stormwater is all managed on site through a combination of closed drainage and country drainage. Fire protection is a big item here. We have 20,000 gallon cisterns at both the residential and commercial use. After meeting with the fire chief, we upsized the commercial use to a 40,000 gallon cistern. The intent there is to provide added fire protection for the Mendon Center District. Right now, there's not as much fire protection as the chief would like in that area, so we've accommodated that by incorporating an additional 20,000 gallons of fire protection storage on site. And as it comes for natural gas, electric, telephone, data, all that's available in either Route 16 or Washington Street. I want to run through a handful of renderings now The intent of the project is to maintain a country style feel similar to some of the uses along Route 16. So you could jump to the next slide for me real quick. This is an example of what the typical residential unit would look like. As I mentioned before, 12 Washington Street, the goal there is to restore the historical home, maintain its character. As many of you know, there's a barn on that property. One of the units will be a barn style home. The other 25 will look similar to this. Next slide, please. You'll jump over to the commercial. Got 3 slides I want to show here. The first is the market. This is a view if you're standing at Route 16 looking into the site. This is what you'd see for the market. Next slide. We have the indoor retail space, which was top of the page on the prior rendering. And last but certainly not least, we have the drive-through bank use down near Route 16 and the roundabout. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Rob Lidland. He's going to talk about all the great benefits that this project brings, specifically as it relates to the roundabout.
Good evening, for the record, Rob Woodland, registered traffic engineer in Commonwealth and senior manager at. In any case, can we go to the next slide? Oh, there we go. All right, I just want to highlight quickly some of the benefits of the proposed roundabout for access. First off, having control of all 4 corners of the intersection allowed us to shoot for the fence for a better solution. Controlling all of that, you can see that we're encroaching significantly onto the proponent's parcels in order to accommodate this. But we think this is the best fit for the traffic volumes that are going through this location, not only to slow down traffic as they approach and pass through the intersection, making it safer for cars and pedestrians and bikes alike. This concept shows a shared use path separating some of those pedestrian and bicycle movements through the roundabout. And we're convinced that this is the safest approach for developing the very, very low pedestrian volumes that are out there, but they will be accommodated. The roundabout primary benefit is slowing down traffic, but it also eliminates all the left turn conflicts and head-on collisions that you'd expect at signalized intersections or unsignalized intersections. So we've been working with MassDOT now for over a year on this. Actually, we started looking at this as a concept about 3 years ago. And we're already through the initial process of the intersection control evaluation. And the preferred alternative that DOT suggested to move forward with is the roundabout. We think it's going to offer, again, safety improvements, slowing traffic down for all times of the day. And we think that's a huge benefit for this alternative versus signals, or they did ask us to look at some unsignalized alternatives that were just clearly not safe and wouldn't service the needs of the existing movements coming out of Millville Road. That is pretty heavy traffic in the morning and that can back up as it is today. And it wouldn't service the development. So again, queue management, operations throughout the day, this is very flexible. In the morning, you have a heavy eastbound flow, and in the evening, it flips direction and is a heavy westbound flow. And on Saturday, we're expecting more traffic in and out of the shopping center. So the way we've designed this is to have an ebb and flow of the lane geometry that can really accommodate all the traffic for all times of the day, not just the peaks, but in the off peaks, you're going to see very good queue management, very good overall operations. We have more work to do, and DOT will continue to, we've submitted our 25% design concept, basically what you're seeing here. We expect more comments as this project proceeds through MEPA. So there'll be other opportunities for both the town and MassDOT to weigh in on the final configuration, but this is looking very good at this stage. So with that, I don't know if we have the videos that we could show. I just wanted to show you some of the software we're using to evaluate this, give you a sense of how we think this will operate. You can pull up the AM. We ran the AM weekday morning, evening, commuter peak periods, and the Saturday midday peak periods. And it's all right, so this is the weekday morning peak hour. This is showing the operations, I believe, roughly from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning when traffic on the existing roadway is busiest. Now, we don't expect a whole lot of traffic coming and going from the development during that time, but this is where we have the heavy eastbound flow and the heavy northbound right flow from Melville Road, which already queues up today. So this is our design. Early on, when we're using the software, this is an interactive tool that helps us design the approaches and the receiving lanes for the roundabout. So early on, we had shared some VISM results to MassDOT as part of our first meeting back in June of 2021. Based on the initial results, we extended the receiving lanes for the roundabouts. So you can see that we're carrying 2 lanes well east of the intersection so that we can merge those 2 travel lanes that are passing through the intersection back down to 1. And then we'll pull up the PM. We have similar operations. Now, in this case, we have heavier westbound flow. So this is the beauty of roundabouts. They adapt very well to changes in volumes flowing through the intersection to handle the typical flipping of the weekday morning, weekday evening, commuter peak period traffic operations. It also works well for the shopping center on Saturday, where we're going to expect a lot more traffic coming and going out of the shopping center. We can let this run for a little bit, but the queue management, the slowing down of vehicles, the safety of the overall operations, we think this is the best approach for the access. And, get a rough idea of what that looks like, and I guess we can pull up the Saturday if we have a quick second. Last one. And thank you for bearing with the presentation. There we go. And this is a Saturday. So what you'll see here is Saturday, the queue starts to build up a little bit and then dissipates. This is what we expect for the Saturday operations. But all the other queues and all the other approaches you can see are de minimis, very, very minimal. So we think this is a good solution. We've got more homework to do, but we've carried this to 25% design. The software actually models the angles of the approaches, the lane widths, and the control points through the intersection. So we feel very confident this is going to be a good solution for the development. So, yes. Through the board?
Mr. Chairman.
Hold on, we're gonna hold our questions till they've done their entire.
I'll be happy to answer any questions later in the presentation.
Yeah, I don't want to break it up into a million questions. We'll never get through this.
All right, I'll turn it back over to Matt.
Thanks, Rob. Fine, jump into the next slide for me.
For you speakers, if somebody raised a hand out there, I don't want you guys to allow them to speak. I'll get to them. Okay, thank you.
There. So next 3 slides are specific to why we're here, the requests we are making. First one is for the residential use on 18 and 20 Washington Street. We're requesting that the board grant site plan approval for an age-restricted single-family neighborhood. And our justification for that is it meets the site plan review performance criteria. We understand the town of Mendon is interested in age-restricted housing. It's a development need. We also understand there was an RFP that went out for another property in town, and it sounds like that may not have pushed forward. So we're viewing this as a great opportunity for the town to meet a need in a location not too far from where it was intended to be through that RFP. It expands the housing opportunities. Right now, there's pretty limited housing opportunities in Mendon. It's mostly single family on large lots. This particular use is an age-restricted use that would expand those opportunities, and we have very efficient land use. And the benefit there is it minimizes sprawl. In Massachusetts, we're having a tough time keeping up with our growth with the urban sprawl that we're seeing. In urban sprawl, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, it's large lot, single family uses. So you have a development, 15 units, you need an acre and a half. You're talking a 20-acre property with large lawns sprawled across the landscape. A use like this allows them to be efficient, smaller lots, if you will, minimizes the pressure for that urban sprawl outside of downtown areas. And it also, the intent here is to maintain that historical character of Washington Street. We have, as I mentioned before, the historical home at 12, the barn style home, and one other home located along the Washington Street frontage that's very consistent with what's out there today. You have a home at 20 Washington Street, you have 12 Washington Street, and you have a barn. So that combined with the landscaping is intended to maintain that historical character. Next slide, please. So we jump over to the commercial use. The first request is for a special permit and site plan approval for the shopping center. This, again, it meets the criteria for both the special permit and the site plan review. It's consistent with the town of Mendon master plan vision. So there's major investments in infrastructure improvements tied to this project, primarily the roundabout and how it relieves some of the pain when you're trying to make a left off of Washington Street or off of Millville. It's also going to deal with safety and just general queue management, as Rob just briefly spoke about. The roundabout, firefighting benefits I mentioned earlier, we have a 40,000 gallon cistern that's going to help serve the Mendon Center District. And overall, it's just a positive fiscal impact that strengthens the local economy. The roundabout itself is $2.8 million for construction costs. And then we're looking at around $200,000 annually, potentially more in additional revenue for the town. Next slide, please. The second request for the commercial use is a waiver for 20% reduction in parking. And this request is consistent with the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. They've created a smart parking model for the state. And historically, a lot of these commercial uses, it's been 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet or 1 per 250. Exactly what Mendon asked for. The model bylaw is suggesting, maybe we're over parking. Let's target 3 per 1,000 square feet of gross use here. So if you put it if you go by the numbers, 267 is what's required by rule, 4 per 1,000. The smart parking bylaw would indicate 200 would suffice for this use. What we've done is we've said, let's meet somewhere in the middle. So we're at 230 right now for the site to be in that kind of gray zone between what's required by the book without the waiver that's allowed and what the state's pushing for in terms of parking reduction. And the benefits of that reduction in parking is it decreases stormwater runoff and then it increases available land for green space. And you can see off to the left-hand side here, there's quite a bit of green space behind the plaza. We've got green space out front. This dense development allows us to maintain a lot of that added space. We have a transportation demand management program that's going to encourage alternate modes of transportation. We have bicycle racks on the commercial use. We have interconnected pedestrian pathways, both on and off site, to encourage pedestrians to access the site. And we're going to have preferential parking for carpooling or shared vehicles, as well as electric vehicle charging stations. Next slide, please. So some of the major project highlights I just want to touch upon, consistent with the town of Mendon master plan vision. This site is an ideal location for these types of smart growth developments. We have a densely developed Route 16 core. This parcel is right off of that great location. We have access to existing infrastructure, both roadways and utilities, and it's proximate to the Mendon Center District. So it's in the area where you want to have a walkable neighborhood. You want to be able to walk to the schools, to the recreational areas, to the town hall, to your markets, those types of uses. All of that's walkable in this area. The project itself incorporates almost all of these smart growth and sustainable development practices. Some of them are up there. Listen, we just talked about walkability. We've talked about open space, mixed uses, and housing opportunities. Those are some of the highlights. The roundabout improves safety and operations for everyone. The firefighting benefits are great for the Mendon Center District. The positive fiscal impact, strengthening the local economy, and restricted housing meets the development need. So that's the spiel to catch everyone up to what we've talked about previously. The next 4 slides get into some of the key responses to peer review comments that we received. The first one was site civil review comments from Graves Engineering. This is their second peer review letter. There are maybe 30, 35 comments on the original one. There were 4 add-on comments or supplemental comments. We've addressed all of them. They're very basic and detailed comments. One is just was updating the zoning table on C-120, which you guys have in front of you. What we did was we broke out. We have 1 column for the commercial properties in use and how we meet all the dimensional requirements. And we have another column for the residential property in use. We included trash compactors and dumpsters as requested. There was a request for details of these particular items. They're just your standard run-of-the-mill trash compactors and dumpsters for the use. So at this time, we don't have specific details, but they are sized accordingly. And there's plenty of space should the need arise to expand that footprint. We did provide Graves with the subsurface exploration data figure they requested. It's never made it to them the first time around. And the last one was just updating the ADA compliant spaces at the bank to include a van space instead of just 2 standard spaces. So that's it for the site civil review comments. We feel like we've adequately addressed all of those. I'm gonna jump in real quick to the traffic review comments. The first one here, and I'm gonna read these just to give a little context, and I'll try to get through it pretty quickly in respect of everyone's time. They've asked that we continue to coordinate with MassDOT to implement ongoing safety improvements at the intersections, specifically with respect to the project's change in design on Route 16, Washington Street and Millville Street, where we're installing a multi-lane roundabout and a pedestrian bicycle connectivity for the study area. So Route 16, as you may know, is owned by Mass DOT. As Rob mentioned, we've been coordinating with them at the very least for the last 18 months, going back longer than that. We will continue to coordinate with them as we go through the MEPA review process and we go in for an access permit. They have a very thorough review and approval process that we need to adhere to. And all of our improvements, both for the project and their ongoing project along this Route 16 corridor, are going to need to have this smoothing process where they're aligned with one another and they complement one another. In terms of the trip generation tables, the request generally was to look at the latest version of ITE. There's a new edition that came out in September of last year. And what we did was we went to MassDOT back in June of 21 for a scoping meeting. We laid everything out in front of them to solicit their feedback. They agreed with the generation rates we used for the project. After that meeting, a new manual came out and there was a land use code change. We used the land use code 820, which is for shopping centers. The new manual has a land use code 821, which is for shopping plazas, 40,000 to 150,000 square feet with a supermarket. When that came out, we took a look at empirical data from the 2 existing Massachusetts locations, one in Auburn and one in Dudley, cash register data to get a general idea of what the real world use is like for the market. We took that data and compared it to the original rates we'd selected, as well as the new rates, and said, what makes the most sense? The table you see on the screen here, we have the time period on the left, the traffic study estimate, which is based on that 820, the 10th edition of ITE, and then the empirical data, which is based on real world register information from the 2 locations, plus calculations for all of the other uses. So the bank, the indoor retail, and the outdoor retail. And as you can see, when you compare the 2, we are substantially less in terms of the trip generation in the real world versus land use code 820. Jumping to 821 is starting to look at an unrealistic expectation. We're not that use. We're not that supermarket and a shopping plaza with high turnover. We just don't generate that traffic volume. So we stuck with the 10th edition at that time. We then went back to Mass DOT for their intersection control evaluation, the ICE process. with those same rates. Now, this is after the 11th edition had come out with the new land use code and said, hey, here's our results for the intersection control evaluation. We have used these rates again. MassDOT again said, okay, we agree. We think the roundabout, we know the roundabout's the preferred option for this particular project. So that's why we use those rates. That's how we've justified the continued use of them, both from MassDOT's guidance and from the real world application. In terms of comment number 11, the TDM, they've asked that we expand elements as the project moves through local and mutual review process. We agree with that. We've proposed a number of transportation demand management elements. We will continue to expand those as we can based on the tenants that will be in the plaza and through the MEPA process, which we're going to have to coordinate specifically with Mass DOT on. The last key comment we pulled out was that the applicant asked we confirm that the town's largest responding fire apparatus and the largest delivery vehicle can make their way through the site. We have exhibits that we've provided that show both the delivery truck and the fire apparatus can make it to all the areas of the site that they would need access to based on our dialogue with the chief as well as expectations for how delivery trucks are going to navigate the site. Next slide, please. Public water system review comments. Very similar to the traffic comments. There's a process here as well. We need to go to Mass DEP for a site exam and pumping test approval. We've done that. We've gotten their approval. The right-hand side there, that's just the cover letter that they approved. We need to follow the requirements of that pumping test. So as it relates to comments 5 and 7, we definitely appreciate pointing those out. Monitoring the wells of direct abutters to the project during the pumping and recovery periods to identify impacts. Going off site is a bit of a reach. Starting to enter private properties. So what we've agreed to do voluntarily, there are 3 wells on the subject parcels, one at 20, one at 18, and one on either 35 or 37, kind of right. 37. We're going to monitor those voluntarily during the pumping test to see if there's any impacts that occur. Comment number 7, the overburden monitoring wells in the vicinity of the proposed soil absorption fields. One of those wells I mentioned at 20 Washington is right where we're proposing the soil absorption system. So we have a great location for that. DEP has told us any additional observation wells is not required as part of the pumping test. So the approach we're taking is follow the guidance, but also look at those 3 wells we have on site to see generally what impacts may be occurring during the pumping test. And the pumping test is never going to be replicated in the real world. It drives up the rate that you're withdrawing water from the ground. So it's not a rate that you're going to see during active use. It's intended to put pressure on that well to make sure it can maintain that supply of water. The last comment here is about the 22 Washington Street parcel. So 22 Washington Street is proximate to where we're proposing the residential soil absorption systems. We've cited those systems to be more than 100 feet from the well, which is the Title V requirement. That said, what the applicants agreed to do is reserve excess capacity in the system for future connections. So right now, the development is demanding about 9,000 gallons per day of water. Our application to DEP was for 2 5,000 gallon per day wells. So we have 10,000 gallons per day that we're working with right now, pending the pumping test. What we're suggesting is we reserve that theoretical excess of 1,000 pending those results for future connections, whether it be for 22 Washington Street or other, should something come up down the road. Next slide, please. Then the last one was the fiscal impact review comments. I want to sum this one up with the conclusion that was made in that letter, which is that they don't expect the fundamental conclusions of the project's favorable fiscal impact to change. And I want to note that Barrett Planning Group looked at our original fiscal impact memo, which was based on a residential development that was not age restricted. So there were more full-time students in the original development. We were at 13, and it was still considered a favorable outcome. What we've done here is we've taken the comments in that letter and summed it up in this table. So what you see in front of you is the estimated fiscal impact on town revenue, and it's a positive impact. The first row is the number of full-time students that are anticipated for the age-restricted community. The second row is the cost per student. So that third row is the sum of that. So you got 2 students times that. So look at 2025. You got 26,000 roughly in education costs. The residential expenditures and non-residential expenditures are built off of Mendon's current operating costs. So the residential expenditures are 11% of that operating cost. And the non-residential expenditures are about 8.7%. So you can see the revenue of the project minus the potential expenditures in the town still nets you out. Once the project's up and running, which is 2025, in that first year, $150,000, and it grows from there up to 300. So call it $200,000 annually as a benefit. And because we don't expect there to be a large burden on the town from the project, because we have on-site water, on-site wastewater, all the roads are going to be managed and maintained by the applicant. We don't see a big driver for additional costs borne from the project. So we're seeing this revenue just get spread out over a larger base in town. If you can just jump to the next slide, that's it for the peer review kind of highlights in our mind. And it just project highlights slide, keep that up there or close out the presentation. So open it up to the board for any questions or comments.
Gentlemen,
I don't have anything else.
I spent a lot of time going over the peer reviews. And for people joining us, this is their first meeting, you understand what the peer reviews are. The town of Mendon requested the applicant at their own cost to allow us to utilize our own engineers and companies to review everything about the project. And just to make sure that the applicant's engineering and the fiscal management and everything was accurate. Well, we hired 5 different groups who went through the project. And from what I ascertained going through both their responses and what these gentlemen put together as answers to those questions, I come away with a very positive result of what they felt. Now, these are engineers all over the state that deal with towns like Mendon or larger, obviously. And, we really haven't tackled a major mixed-use project in the town of Mendon ever. This is kind of a good barometer of what we're looking at. And, when you look at things like the age-restricted housing, I mean, that's a need in Mendon. I mean, I'm getting emails every day. People have heard about this project, and I get emails every day from people who own homes, larger homes in town, but now their kids are gone, and for them to stay in Mendon looking for age-restricted housing, and we don't have it. So from a planning level, this is something, whether it's here or somewhere else, that the town of Mendon really needs. And so it's definitely, if all things sort out correctly, I personally think the residential piece of this is a good, now whether we can work the zoning out is a question that I haven't answered myself yet. So that's something we're going to have to really look into. And if it doesn't meet the requirements of the town, we'll put it before the town. We'll put the proper zoning before the town and let the town make the decision. Just for those of you who wonder what it may look like, there is one in Blackstone, that is very, it's very good, and, I was very impressed with it, and some people should. It's off Farm Street. Take a ride over there, take a look at it. But,
Doing one in Upton too.
yeah, they're doing one now in Upton too, yeah.
Just started it.
Yep. So, I really don't have I mean, I read, I went over your plans, I read what you had put together. So I'm really comfortable with what you're doing. Obviously the commercial piece is something that I think would benefit the town greatly. I don't think there's any question of that. But I will open it up to any of these other guys. Any questions, any input? Not, I'll open it to the,
You can open it to the audience because.
Yeah.
Bill, can I comment?
yeah, absolutely, Jack.
Um,
For anyone.
wanna
any of you
say-
don't-
I
Jack,
want to
hold on
say
one second.
I wanted to say every time I'm there, Damon's never there, and then I'm not here and Damon is, so I'm taking it personal.
Sorry, Jack.
Just for the public, what the chair is talking about zoning, the applicant is now in front of the zoning board of appeals for a variance on housing to allow the housing at 27. And they're also asking for a special permit to expand a non-conforming use, and we call that a Section 6 finding that ZBA will entertain. But I think the hearing's Thursday.
It is.
Bill, also the peer reviews, now all this information that they gave us will now go back to the peer reviewers, and they will then come back with their responses. And the whole idea is to get to where the two engineers and the two experts on both sides and the planning board are all in agreement to the questions and that the answers are sufficient. I just had a couple questions for Tetra Tech probably. Have you, I assume I've been through the design of several roundabouts, and there's always the issue, at least in the public's eye, about the largest tractor trailer and the largest fire apparatus getting through the roundabout. I assume you've used your templates to design that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. And Rob, feel free to jump in if I misspeak, but the current 25% design complies with all of the most current standards for roundabout design. So it can.
And Jack, I had spoken with Mass DOT about that, and they were very confident with the size of the rotary that it would handle truck traffic no problem.
Oh,
The only thing they're a little bit questioning is a 2-lane. Right now, they're constructing as a 1-lane traffic circle.
Yeah, they mentioned it to us that their initial.
They said it could be at some point. a 2-lane.
Maybe that it wants to be 1 lane initially.
Yeah. I think
But we'll,
I think they're concerned, yeah, until Route 16 is completed in its regeneration, I guess.
Yeah.
They'd want it to be 1 lane, and then at that point, they're gonna size it for 2 lane, I guess. But it'll only be shown as 1, but.
well, my response, Bill, is then your modeling showed 2 lanes. So are we modeling it as 1 lane or 2 lanes?
They're eventually gonna make it 2 lane once Route 16 is completed.
I'm
They
just
They
thinking out
can't do
loud.
that. The road won't support it right now.
I'm just thinking out loud that we got to make sure that if this is operable before Route 16 is reconstructed, that rotary is going to operate okay as 1 lane.
DOT seems to think so, Jack.
Yep. Well,
And I mean,
Maybe
they're
if they
gonna,
showed us the model with one lane, I'd be convinced. And I'm hoping it does, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
What else did I have? Oh, you made a comment about the RFP just for the town. The board knows this very well. We did write, the planning board did write a very good mixed-use zoning bylaw. And it wasn't the RFP that was the problem. It unfortunately failed by one vote at town meeting. So, if necessary, maybe it could apply here if necessary, and we could tweak it if necessary. I think overall it's a good plan, the questions are the zoning, and that's going to be resolved elsewhere, but that's my comments.
thank you, Jack.
Chairman, if I may.
Sure.
On the roundabout, so the one lane versus two lane, part of the process we're gonna have to go through with MIPA and the access permits, DOT specific, is what they've called a smoothing exercise. So it's gonna be taking our proposed project improvements and their Route 16 corridor improvements. and
Yeah, that's what
Figuring
they-
out the appropriate timing and how they're gonna mesh together, because
Right.
one's gonna happen before the other. You never see a situation where the
Yeah,
timing
that's,
works out where it's all being built together.
that's what they kind of told me.
So it's just a matter of when each element happens, but the ultimate build out is intended to be the two lanes that
Right.
we evaluate.
That's, I mean, that's definitely their intention. And it's the people we need to understand, it's their road. Minden does not own Route 16. That's a state road and it's going to be, what the state wants, not what Minden wants. We got a hand raised, Karen?
Yes, hi. I have a question about the roundabout. The state, about a month or two back, had a Teams meeting for all the Mendon residents who were interested in the reconstruction that's planned for 2024. And a roundabout was never mentioned. Are you saying that they changed their mind?
Actually, I was on and a roundabout was discussed. They currently right now have drawn in the drawings as a stoplight intersection.
Correct.
If this project does not get approved, that's what we will have. If this project gets approved, the state will look to do a roundabout.
Okay, I don't know why they didn't mention that, because they did not mention that in the meeting we had, so. I was just wondering, I didn't know there was anything planned for the mini golf course, so this is all new to me.
Okay, well, I assure in the future meetings with the DOT, I'll be sure to raise the question.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I can add to that if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the big item here with the roundabout is it's because of the project.
Right.
So without the project, MassDOT has their own independent project. They have the improvements they plan on within their corridor. The roundabout's only feasible with the project because the proponent is gonna donate the land, or at least provide the land that
Right.
allows a roundabout to be installed.
Right. I'm fully aware of that. I mean, he's obviously given up the property on those four corners to allow for the roundabout to come in to play. I will tell you, I was speaking to a planner out in Northampton. I was out there the other day looking at their traffic circles, and it has made a tremendous difference in the town of Northampton. They got about 5 traffic circles in Northampton now. It's made a tremendous difference in the flow of traffic in their town.
Yes, it did.
And it's, let me tell you what, I don't know if anyone ever drove through Northampton before, but it was horrible. You was stuck in traffic going through Northampton for like an hour. And Northampton's not that big. It's smaller than Milford. It would take you forever to get through it. Now traffic flow is pretty steady. So traffic circles, they do work, and that's why you're seeing them everywhere now. Yes.
One of my concerns was when we started with these streets. How do you get people across 4 lanes of traffic. As, you know, it was demonstrated in the video. 4 lanes of traffic in an area where there are multiple distractions, Sylvia grocery store, the Hood Plaza, the Muffin House, Dunkin' Donuts. And I mean, there's a lot of driver distractions around that roundabout. And that's my concern is how do you get people safely across at the roundabout? If you've got drivers, you know, trying to figure out where they're going to get off and get on, and people just trying to cross the street. So maybe you can help me with that.
I'll leave that to you.
Could I add?
Absolutely.
Sure. Well, thanks for the question. I guess I'd answer it quickly by this design is the current MassDOT standard for accommodating bikes and peds through the intersection. The general idea is we have splitter islands on each approach that provide a respite for a person crossing. So they only have to cross one direction of travel at a time. And then you can see that we have multi-use paths crossing those islands. So this is a brand new design, brand new specs. This is the latest and greatest that MassDOT is offering for these. So this is up to the date design standard. And I think it's going to pair in well with what the state's improvement is along the rest of the corridor for bike accommodations and ped accommodations. So
Just take into the bigger picture, the amount of kind of driver redirections as occurs, you know, outside of the roundabout.
yeah, I think the general benefit of roundabouts is you're basically getting rid of left turns and opposing traffic. So it's all right turns. And so in terms of the traffic through the intersection, the traffic flow is very simplified. You're crossing for the pedestrians or bikes, you're crossing one direction of travel. That's easier. In terms of the movements through the intersection itself, they eliminate the left turn conflicts, which if you look at a conflict diagram at an intersection, it goes from like 32 conflict points down to like 60. So in terms of how they're designed, it's a much simpler flow and easier and more intuitive for most people to be able to see. And the visibility is excellent. So it's not like somebody stepping behind a tree. You've got, you know, a brand new infrastructure, great sight lines for drivers approaching it and for the pedestrians and bicycle people to see it. So anyway, I hope that partially addressed your question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would also like to add that we keep in mind we're going to eventually have lights at both intersections on both sides of this traffic circle. The one that's going to be at Washington Street and the one that's going to be at Hartford Ave West. You're going to see a great slow in traffic through Mendon. It's just going to be, it's going to change everything we see about Route 16 today.
Bob Sweet, 50 Logan Street. Just in reference with that as well. The walk lanes that are, the crosswalks that are planned for there, will they be having crosswalk lights?
I'm not sure. That's, like I said, that's not in the reference of, you want
Just for sport, we did look at the warrants, whether you need to provide that. There are some signs that are alerting drivers to that, but we're not going to physically stop the traffic flow. There'll be flashing signs to show that somebody's active in the crosswalk, and that's the current design standard. So depending on the volume of the peds and the volume of the trucks and cars, you design that system for that. So our highway engineer specifically looked at that criteria in the MassDOT guidance, and this plan reflects that guidance.
okay. All right. That answer your question, Bob? Yeah. Well, ask away.
Bill, can I say one thing? You know, I said this before, but right before I left Hudson, Mass, we redesigned a bad rotary or a
Yeah, actually, that one came out
roundabout
beautiful.
into a very, very good one, similar to this, and it works marvelously. We had a bad rotary that we actually had a fatality at, and now we have one very similar to this. Probably takes more traffic than this one, and it works. And people now are used to it, and the whole thing works for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motorists. So I applaud that part of it.
Actually, that's a good point, Jack. That one in Hudson is an excellent rotary and an excellent example, and it does have more traffic than we have here.
Yeah.
Believe me. So that's a very good example if anyone wants to see one.
Mr. Chairman, like I said, I mean, I have several questions.
Go ahead.
How large is the center of this rotary proposed to be? Is it a 50-foot center? Is it a 10-foot center? How large is the center of that rotary?
Off the top of my head, this design standard is, again, trying to accommodate the WB-67s and the fire trucks that are passing through. So we had some real estate to work with. We're not cheaping the design of this. We just took the land from the property to make it work. And it's going to meet that design standard. Off the top of my head, I think it was about 60, 70 for the diameter of the center lane, and it was design speeds we were designing for to slow the traffic.
So that's a pretty big center of the circle.
The reason why I'm asking is because I just spoke with an engineer and he said a rotary needs to be, if you're gonna go around, you need 100-foot diameter.
So the outer diameter of this is probably more like 180 feet, edge to edge of the traveled way through it. I thought you meant just the center of the round.
Because then you're gonna add your, what is it, 12 feet per lane?
I don't think 100 feet is accurate, Bob, because none of the ones I've seen lately had a 100-foot center. I think 100 foot is to the outside.
This plan to scale,
Yes.
Yeah,
so you got 40 foot per inch, right?
sounds right.
You got over 2 inches there, so you're definitely over 100 for the center.
And what I can say is, I think Rob might have mentioned it in there. This design is consistent with the current Mass stop standards for roundabout, so it complies with all the geometric standards for roundabout design.
Yeah. As far as with the rotary going, I mean, your model is, what you guys did is great. I think it's great showing the diagrams of cars and stuff like that. But what I did notice is that you don't have any cars going into the grocery store throughout that whole model. So now those cars going into the grocery store have to cross 2 lanes to get there.
There was cars going in and coming out, but we can probably
Yeah,
check them.
these models were based on the traffic projections for the build condition, the 2028 build with project condition. So these are including traffic coming and going out of the development.
On Saturday, there was a lot more.
This
So
is,
it's coming from west and trying to go around the rotary and in. Let me know if you see any, because I didn't.
well, we do expect more of this development to be oriented to and from the east. So I think it was roughly, off the top of my head, 30, 40, 30, 70 split, more oriented toward population centers and traffic coming to and from the east. And in the evening peak hour, we're anticipating on capturing a lot of the existing traffic traveling by the site. So that in the PM peak hour, the traffic is heavy westbound. So we're anticipating on capturing a good amount of that right turn into our site and right turn out. But we had detailed traffic projection models and trip distribution models for the residential component of the project and the project trips. We did a very detailed review of where we think the population center that's going to be attracted to this neighborhood market. And so our route departure patterns for the commercial development were reviewed by the peer review consultant, and they agreed with our approach as being sound.
If I may, so Bob, I've been going through a lot of these now. And as you'll see, as the lanes enter into the roundabout, there's a yield there of traffic that's going around the rotary already. So the traffic coming into the rotary has to yield to somebody that comes around and wants to go into the supermarket. So basically those cars stop, they have them in Orleans at the Cape, in Marlboro. That lane, the lanes coming into the roundabout. If somebody wants to come all the way around from, say, the eastbound lane, around the circle and into the supermarket, the lanes, the two lanes coming into the roundabout are both yield lanes to oncoming traffic, so they basically have to stop and let that person go through the supermarket. That's the way the roundabouts work.
And another tremendous advantage to the traffic circle is change of direction. People who don't,
People are counting, didn't let you in.
I mean, you know what, someone pulling out of another location who couldn't take a left out, could go up and around the circle and go back the other direction.
One that's
Change of
been,
direction is extremely important.
one that's been around for a few years is Washington Square in Worcester. That was always a mess.
You mean, oh yeah, Washington Square, yeah. They
It was
fixed
always a
that up,
mess.
yeah.
Now you can go around there.
Piece of cake. And they put one at Kelly Square. If they can put one at Kelly Square, they can put one anywhere.
Yeah, that's not really a rotary.
It is now. It is now.
Get a question.
So anyways, you know, you said that you did 2021 traffic study, which was during COVID. So is there any data to like a 2018 or a 2022 study that now when everybody's back to work?
So we, to be consistent with the state's project, we used their exact same data that was collected in 2018 because we were getting into COVID and we were worried about lower volumes. And then we did a snapshot as we could in developing the project to see if anything had changed. Obviously, COVID was still impacting the traffic volumes. So working this out with DOT, we said, hey, we're going to use your data. We're going to project it to our design years by growing it a little further, but that was before COVID. So the base volumes for established existing conditions were pre-COVID. And then we grew those per direction from MassDOT, how to treat projects in the COVID environment. So we projected that 2018 volumes to 2021 per MassDOT direction. And that meant that we grew. Percentage wise, we increased it from 2018 to 2019. I think it was 4% increase. And then similarly for every year beyond that, MassDOT says, this is what we'd like you to do. And they provide the COVID guidance, but our existing conditions.
So you're based on 2018, but grew it 4 or 5% as you went along.
Right.
Okay.
So
That makes
all of that's prescribed by MassDOT. So that process is the part of the scoping session. What are you going to do? How are you going to move forward with it? That was all prescribed by them.
Now, the other question I have is, if it's 100 foot to the center, it makes it, what, almost 200 feet to the outside of that? Where does that land come from? Is it coming from where?
Coming from,
Barry?
come from the applicant.
It's
Oh.
gonna come from that side of the road?
Both sides.
He owns both sides, so.
He owns all 4 points. He's donating the land.
This line here is the current property line. So all this road, all the stuff on this side is going to be from the land.
Okay.
This, if you see it's kind of gray, this is the current roadway.
You can see in the light area, he's showing you where the plaza is.
Right, yeah, I saw the plaza.
Yeah.
And like, that's, number 1 is the gas station, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And then number 15 is,
Well, no, one is the canopy, the canopy with the gas pumps. This is the gas
oh,
station.
okay, okay. So that's tight there now, isn't it?
What's
Not-
that?
Once you give up, once you.
I
give
don't
up the
think,
land.
I don't think they're reducing the size of the station at all.
Correct.
I think they're moving it the other way. That great green area is actually being added. Yep.
We're giving more
We-
stuff to the land.
First of all, the site plan's done on the gas station, so they can't alter unless they came back with a modification. So they can't alter the gas station. So they'd have to come back to us, and we wouldn't allow them to shrink the gas station. I mean, you know, the traffic's stuffing up in there,
Driving by.
yeah. But anyways,
Ballpark, 25-30% of the land for the roundabouts coming from.
okay.
Any more, Bob?
Any more, Bob?
So, yeah, I am. Just a couple.
Okay, I'm gonna have to cut you off in a minute because we can't let you control the meeting.
If anybody else wants to jump in, that's fine.
Okay.
Just like I said, I mean, these are
Go ahead.
questions that should be asked and should be answered.
Go ahead.
Now, as far as I'm to understand, the Route 16, the proposed Route 16 expansion plan has a turn lane, a set of turn lane, correct?
Has what?
a center turn lane, so a middle lane that. people-
Well, that's-
they gotta turn left.
That's if they don't build the project and the rotary goes away. You have a center turn lane.
Okay, so that's all based on,
That, yeah, if this project happens, that all goes away.
so, okay. Okay.
And Bob, you know, that has number one, no reflection on this project, and the planning doesn't have a choice in what the state decides to do. When they do theirs, we have slight input into what the state's gonna do to Route 16.
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure
Yeah.
out, is how are you gonna blend three lane, you know, a single lane, a turn lane, and another single lane, you know, so that you have traffic into 2 and 2.
Yeah,
It's one or the other.
it's one or the other. Yeah.
This concept does, at the end of it, pair into the state's.
Yeah.
So there are smoothing exercises will occur.
Yeah.
And whether we do, initially a single lane roundabout or build, as I think we should do, this hybrid roundabout.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Yeah.
But that will tie into what they're proposing with the smoothing exercise, and our highway engineers were already anticipating what's happening as you're heading eastbound. It blows into our 2 lanes from their proposed lane geometry and then tapers back down to their lane geometry, for the exception of the piece that we're building. So this is only possible because of the land that we have and the commitment to pay for this infrastructure. It would not, the state would not be moving forward with this, not that they disagree with it, they don't have the land or the cash to do it. So their solution through this intersection is to take that triangle island, 2-way triangle island thing and neaten that up to address safety issues, but it doesn't do anything for capacity for Melville Road making a right turn out. And it doesn't do anything to improve the safety for the left turn movements. So this is a way more ambitious solution, way more ambitious, cost wise, capacity wise, safety wise than what they're proposing. If this project doesn't move forward, they'll move forward with what they're proposing.
And I can tell you, and I've said this from the beginning, and why I was one of the people who kind of forced the traffic circle idea forward, is I come from the insurance industry. And I'll tell you, insurers as a whole will tell you they'd much rather see a traffic circle than any type of other intersection, because it reduces the fatality rate.
Because you don't have to stop.
Yeah, well, 90-degree intersections cause much more serious accident damage than,
And like I said,
A rotary.
I have more questions, but if somebody else wants to ask questions, I will hold off and ask them after.
I don't see any hands up. Oh, we got one here. Right. Sure.
Question I have is regarding, I just, I don't know, in the talks with, is there anyone from our local town government that's involved in the?
Yeah, actually, there's a whole bunch of us that have been working with MassDOT and monitoring what they're telling us they're going to do or would like to do. But they have been receptive, so. They're asking, let's put it this way, they're asking our opinion. So that's good.
What do they use it for?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, the second question I have the summary slide, and we're talking about smart growth plans. It's capitalized like it's an acronym that I can be aware of. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, Smart growth, if you go on mass.gov, smart growth has a whole section that you could, and it will, it's quite vast what smart growth touches. It's basically in all development, and it's the state's recommendations when you're getting into projects like this, or from the smallest to the biggest. And it's pretty wide. You'll do a lot of reading, believe me.
The last question is just for path analysis. I saw that you have a positive impact for the around the city. Have you looked at it, since it's a 2-part project, have you looked at it if one part is approved and one part is not? Or is this just the package?
It's just the package for now. Yeah, we haven't driven down into individual components of it, but we don't see any scenario where it's not a positive impact.
Thank you.
Jacob, 17 Washington Street. I think in meetings leading up to this, one of the bigger concerns were the density and hydrology impacts to the abutters. What little was presented on that topic today did little to ease about that. If anything, it confirmed them. If there's a need to test water tables and potential impacts to wells, certain residents are certain to be contaminated. At least that's what I took from that. I guess my question to the board is, why isn't that a concern for you?
It would be, but we're weighing all information and we're not even close to being done yet. And it wouldn't be fair to us to start drawing conclusions now. We like the plan, we think it's a good plan, but it's got to be, you know, right the whole way through. It's like every other project we do. We make sure it fits the town. We make sure it's not going to hurt anyone in the town. I don't know if you want to weigh in any further information.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that.
Yeah,
So as part of the public water system process, we have to go to DEP. We have to go to them for a site exam and a pumping test approval, first and foremost. What that pumping test does is it tells us what the available water on site is in the ground. Once we do that pumping test, we're not done. We have to go back with the results. We have to pull together an expansive report that documents how the system is going to function long term. All that said, as part of the pumping test approval, Mass DEP doesn't require us to monitor the wells on our site. We're doing that voluntarily. And they do not require observation wells to be installed on site. Those are peer review comments that are not consistent with DEP's requirements. We're voluntarily doing that to get an understanding of what's going to happen. But because Mass DEP doesn't require it, that's them saying there's no issue in our eyes for contamination of these properties. The applicant thing would take it one step further and say, we've got 1,000 gallons per day of excess capacity. If for some reason something comes up down the road where, for example, 22 Washington Street has an issue with their well, it somehow gets contaminated, somehow is related to the project, or even unrelated, that capacity is there for future connections. So the proponent's doing everything they're required to do. They're going above and beyond what the state agency who approves the public water system requires to make sure that the community is not impacted.
let me ask you a question. Is there any particular wells that you would have any concern that could eventually occur?
Based on the requirements from Title V and DEP, we don't. The closest private well is 22 Washington Street. It's about 110 feet away from the residential.
Yeah, so it meets regulation.
So that's why, that's the one that gets mentioned. It was mentioned in the peer review letter. So that's the one that's probably we're most sensitive to.
Yeah.
And fortunately, we have 20 Washington Street existing well that we're going to monitor during the pumping test to see if anything occurs over there. And why we're deciding to set aside that excess capacity.
I did talk to the homeowner of 22 Washington Street, and he's open to connecting to the public water supply. We would connect him in, you know.
And how far are the other ones away?
A couple hundred feet at least.
Okay, so there's really not a concern there.
Yeah, so the public water system, there's
Is there a possibility of just hooking 22 Washington right away so we can eliminate any concern?
There is, I'll be in touch with him and see what
Okay.
he wants to do, like.
Yeah, it's up to
like,
him, obviously.
we can Monitor it, like we could monitor it when we test our public water supply water once a month, we could monitor his well.
Okay.
Or we could connect him right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there isn't going to be an issue with it, but whatever he's comfortable with.
Yeah, that's all. And we're fine doing it either way.
one other thing I'd add, just as a point of clarity. When you have a public water system with these wells, there's a required zone 1 radius. So that radius is the radius of influence for the well. And it's based on how much water you're drawing from the ground. So in this case, it's 205 feet beyond the well. There's then an interim wellhead protection area that extends like 625 feet beyond the wells. There are, correct me if I'm wrong, John, we talked about this today. I think there's 4 properties that interim wellhead protection area clips. Everyone outside of that interim wellhead protection, DEP said in their guidance and how they've come up with these equations, there's no impact on all of those. So that's why that's the reason why we're doing this.
And what happens if the well gets contaminated?
What was that? Sorry.
What happens if the well gets contaminated? 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 What happens if the well gets con
So we're talking about 4 butters that are on the outskirts of the interim water protection area. And we don't have concerns.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Mr. Chairman, can you, ask the question whether or not there's a 200-foot radius for a no build around the public water supply?
The zone 1 has limitations on what can be done in it. So I don't think my Paul and plan back up. Passive recreation is one of those things that's allowed, but we're not allowed to construct unrelated infrastructure. So you can see so the zone 1 more or less lines up with this radius. That's that 205-foot radius. You can see we're forced to put all of our stormwater improvements outside of that zone 1.
So that is a retention pond.
This is an infiltration basin right here. Yep, so this is where we're managing most of the runoff from the residential and most of the runoff from the commercial. What we are allowed to do in the zone 1 is include the water infrastructure. So we have a pump house here, we have the water storage tank, we have maintenance access to the wells and to that infrastructure. Passive recreation is also allowed. So there's a walking path that will run through the wooded area. We felt that that was a great benefit to the community to have that access.
Do you know the distance from the public water supply to the first house?
To here, 225 feet, give or take.
So that's outside the radius anyway.
Correct, yeah, so the radius is right here. This line, this radius is, it's no coincidence that this dark green turns to the light green. This is the wooded area that will remain. This light green indicates areas that are gonna be touched by the project, whether it's grading, changing land cover.
How are you plan on handling the waste water treatment?
Yep.
Hold on a second, I just want to share,
Oh, no
share with
worries.
folks at home.
Yeah, this plan is actually perfect. So there's 3 soil absorption fields. So these kind of neon green looking boxes. This one deals with wastewater disposal for the commercial use. These 2 handle the residential use.
So the septics, they're not like.
Septic system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not a public, wastewater treatment.
No, no, the project doesn't generate enough demand to warrant wastewater use.
Setting the public hearing.
Standard commercial septic.
Did you
Oh, we got
reach
the
out to
marijuana.
town, actually, let's find out about snow removal, how that's gonna impact the rotary and all the different roads that come off of it?
We haven't had that discussion with DOT. That's all under their standard snow operations and maintenance plan. So, you know, they have a number around across the state, so they'll handle this similarly, I would expect.
And I'm not trying to be difficult. What I'm trying to do is avoid. We have a track record of being reactive rather than proactive. So I'm trying to make sure that all the questions are asked before we say, wish we would have thought of that.
Yeah, and to that point, I'm kind of glad you brought that up. That's also what we're trying to do here, right? This development is intended to be a proactive development. This is atypical for how things have been done for the last 100+ years. The state, like the chairman was saying, now has this sustainable development principles. So that's what you're going to want to look for, sustainable development. And then there's this smart growth network, which is the smart growth initiatives principles. That's pushing all these developments towards this type of use, where you have the 2 supporting uses, you have denser development, you're maintaining more open space, you're thinking more about the long-term success and not doing things that we've historically done and where we just sprawl development all over the place. We focus it into currently developed areas. So that's what we're trying to do with this project.
What did you say? There's 27 houses now?
There's 27 units, yep, single family age restricted.
What's the average area for each house?
So if you look at the property for the residential use, it's about 15,000 square feet per unit. Very similar to what's happening down in the center district. There's a portion over off of Main Street and Main and Maple. where you have a similar, this is 9.8 acres, 27 units. Down on Main and Maple, there's 9.5 acres that has 27 units. So it's not uncommon for this density to exist. Historically, obviously, smaller lots were allowed in Mendon. The current bylaws are 60,000 square feet.
Right, and that's a quarter of the size of what the bylaws require, right?
The state is looking to decrease densities to move back to the old standard of how they used to build towns at the turn of the, in the 1800s. Everything was built around a center of small lots. That's how Mendon ended up being built the way it was. Everything was built on small lots until you get outside of town, and then, the farms took over.
Low impact development.
Yeah, look, in what's happened now is we've grown to a point where everybody's got high density, 2 acres. You know what? There's a lot of talk right now in the planning world that that's not going to work in the future. The state's going to be looking for towns to shrink their density and instead of sprawl like he's talking about, build more localized, especially residential to the center of the community.
Isn't the 60,000 based on you need to have your septic system a certain amount of distance away from your?
You
well?
can fit it on small lots. Other towns do it.
We just did one on Ponds,
We do it in our open space subdivision.
we did it in Applewood, we did it in Pondview.
Yeah, we do, in subdivisions that benefit the community where we're able to receive land in return and put in conservation, we're allowing lots, 24,000 square feet, because it benefits the town.
Keep in mind, there's no septic system or well on each individual unit.
I know, it's a big system behind.
Yeah, this one is a little different, but overall, the open space.
Well, it's for everybody else. And the other.
Well, that's not-
question is, if they're pulling that much water out of there, are they going to affect the other wells for the other people?
I think that's why we've had the peer reviews, Bob. They'll answer the questions for us. They're the
They
engineer.
just talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about it the last hour.
But it, so I think that's, we have to rely on the people that know to give us our answers. I mean, we can't make supposition. Kathy?
They're drilling, what aquifer are they going to be using to supply their water? Also, I thought the town also was in discussions about doing something, looking at how to provide town water, along Route 16. And, I'm just concerned because the more I'm hearing about this and about the gallons of water that they're going to be needing, is that going to affect my private well down the street? I don't know if I'm gonna be on the same aquifer that they're gonna be drawing from, and my neighbors are drawing.
And, within the peer reviews, I didn't come to determination that was a concern of theirs, but I will let him discuss.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
I mean, these are people we hired, these peer review people.
Yeah,
They represent the town of Mendon. They don't represent anybody else. And they're the ones who said that this isn't, these are what are they?
Geoscience.
Geoscience people, that's their main study is where the water comes from. And they don't seem to have an issue with what we're transpiring here. And Mr. Meehan, the applicant, has decided to take, 1,000 gallons a day, and if there is an issue, he's willing to assist in that issue. If he's got 1,000 gallons, he'll run a line over to your house and you'll get water from his well. But I honestly believe after reading the peer review. I find it highly unlikely that that's going to happen, Kathy. I mean, we at one point had Misco Soda pumping 400,000 gallons a day. And I didn't see anyone in men running out of water.
In the grand scheme of things, I don't think 9,000 gallons is a lot of water a day.
And I just want to add one thing. So along with this also, we'll be getting rid of two individual wells. And we already have, Barry's already has a public water supply. We'll be abandoning that public water supply also. So we are adding a public water supply for the project, but we're going to be abandoning another public water supply that's already present on the property in two other wells. So that takes a little.
So
of it.
you're netting out,
Yeah.
you're not actually gonna be withdrawing 9,000 gallons of new water,
Right.
which is not a lot of water to begin with. And to go back just very quickly to the zone one radius and the interim wellhead protection area. Zone one radius is the primary protection. Interim wellhead protection is kind of a buffer, if you will, beyond that. That only clips 4 properties. I believe you're on the east side of Washington. It doesn't reach that side of Washington Street. So inside the interim wellhead protection, still no worries. Outside, absolutely. And DEP has a very thorough review and approval process. So it doesn't end here. When we get through the local planning process, we have to go through MEPA, which all the state agencies will have an opportunity.
Yeah, keep that in mind. Even if this board approves this project, they still have hoops they have to jump through, both on conservation and the DEP. So it
Board of
like you
Health,
said,
everything.
Board of Health, it doesn't end here. I mean, they have to, be able to get through all those other requirements. So planning board is the first step in a long road for them. Anything else?
I could add one more, but.
Go ahead. Go ahead. We're here.
So is it my understanding that the planning board is in favor of smaller lots and more housing?
No, not necessarily. I just tend to, when I speak about that, I tend to follow what's going on. And this smart growth stuff is changing the way states are looking at things. Has anybody noticed all these huge apartment complexes going up? That's not by accident. This is what government wants now. They want.
Public water and sewer.
Exactly. But the point, it has nothing to do with that. The point is, the state is driving that. That is now becoming regulation. If you're a town that is next to a town with an MBTA station, Upton's caught in this right now. They're having to build one over there now. If you're in a town, not even a town with an MBTA, the next town over, you have to allow that zoning. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice.
Will it be considered a stop for the MBTA?
Not yet. And let's hope not.
You know what else, Bob? When we allow these lower
Yeah, I know.
subject,
I know.
get way off the subject
I know.
here. Yeah, I know. We allow them, they give us you know how much open space we've got in the town?
I'll tell you,
A lot of projects, we got a lot of open space that the town didn't build
A lot
on.
of that is unbuildable land anyways. 'Cause
Well, they still gonna put a conventional subdivision in there and added more lots.
if they put MBTA station in Hopedale, we better be worried about this corner here. Because that's what's next.
So if I may ask.
Yes.
So I've been coming to the town for a while now. I came to 2 or 3 meetings informally to meet with the
Yeah.
board to see how they would feel about this. And that was all a process of trying to work with the town to do a age-restricted complex or a mixed-use complex with the supermarket. And it's not a threat, but I did have Tetra Tech see what we could get for 40B there. So a 40B project is we don't have to adhere to any of the town, basically zoning regs. But I wanted to just show everybody what we could fit on this property without town water and without town sewer as a 40B project. We don't have any intention of doing the 40B project, but he's gonna bring it up. He'll show you right now. So I did wanted to see how many units we could get there if we went strictly 40B, with the supermarket. That's what it would look like. It would be more of an apartment style complex in the residential zone with a sewer treatment, system on the entire lot at 18. And how many units are there?
76 units in a 4-story building.
76 units.
Before anyone gets off track here, I don't want to let this go down a rabbit hole here. You guys, this has been my concern for a while, and, without coming out and saying it, because this is every planner's nightmare, projects like that. Okay, I'm trying to protect Mendon from projects like that. Everybody else, you think we have control over everything. We don't. There's certain things that we can't control. Even some of our own zoning is only as good as it can stand up in court. We write zoning regulation, but doesn't mean it's always going to outlast a lawsuit. I mean, we saw that with adult entertainment. It got shoved right back in our face. And that could be true to any zoning bylaw we have. But certainly we do not want a 40B. As friendly as they would be about it, we would not want a 40B.
I'm way more excited about the 27 years.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
And that's the right type of housing. A 40B, you're going to bring in affordable units. It's going to be an entirely different type of housing. This is an age-restricted community, I believe, right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, age-restricted community that's going to benefit a certain group of people that haven't benefited yet from any town zoning.
Does the age restriction count towards our 40%?
It does not, but I had spoken.
We were talking about doing a friendly 40B with this project, and then we would attribute, I think, two homes towards the affordable units. And I look at it as anything towards affordable shows progress for the town of Mendon. We don't get many, so.
Yeah, Mendon's at 1.7%.
Yeah, we've gone down, actually. We've gone down. So, yes, Kevin.
Obviously, I think this project has a lot of question marks still attached to it, particularly when it comes to the residents. I think when we're talking about local development, we also have to consider, not impacting the people who have lived here all this time. So, I think it's a process of getting closer to the middle, as long as people are being heard out. And I don't see this ending obviously this evening, but that it's an ongoing process. But I think, when residents are speaking, they have really big concerns, and we'd like to see more of those kind of being addressed. You can have a wonderful development. And I believe you, this is a beautiful development. The question is it in the right location? There's always something to consider, hitting square pegs and round holes. If there's so much involved, maybe there's just a better place for it. And maybe that site is more suitable for something else.
Well,
Thank you.
Yep, so I just like to rebut that a little bit. So it is situated where most of the commercial in that Route 16 corridor. It's situated close to the downtown historic district. On Thursday night, we'll present the math for the size of the units in the current center downtown historic district and in our site. 27 homes in the downtown area, right around here, right where we are now. Those average out to, I think, 15,225 square feet per housing unit. And some of those are 3-4 bedroom houses with kids, where our site works out to 15,395 square feet per unit with age restricted. existing 2-bedroom, smaller homes. So when you can see it right there, you can see the location compared to the downtown area. I feel it's a perfect location for this type of project. It's walking distance to the plazas, Dunkin', downtown, the town hall, the police station. I mean, I can't think of another location that would be more ideally suited for a project like this. And I know I'm the proponent, so I'm biased, but we did think about why we were putting it here and what we wanted to put here. And I am open to all concerns, Kathy. I've talked to you a bunch of times. We've added screening around all the houses, all the property lines.
All right, you'll have plenty of time to talk later.
Yeah.
Sit down. Yes.
The next one.
Yeah. Is there any other questions? And one thing he's right about, is it's not gonna be completed tonight, that's for sure.
Motion.
Yeah.
continue.
Just a comment, Brendan Schmaltz, Queen Washington. Just want to keep in mind that we're not really talking about what the bylaws are going to be in 10 minutes. We're talking about like what the bylaws are about right now. I know that's what the Thursday meeting is about. So I'm just looking forward to
See you there, Brendan.
Yeah. I mean, certainly from the chair of the guy who writes the bylaws, I would love everything to line up perfectly with the bylaws. But unfortunately, in most towns our size, because we haven't had enough time, I mean, I have gone through a review with CMRPC on our bylaws, and they are tremendously outdated. I'm a volunteer. I just don't have the time to rewrite all these bylaws. They are going to be assisting us as soon as the master plan is done to rewrite all our regulations. One of the areas they point out that Mendon lacks is mixed-use development. That is something that most downtown areas take advantage of. Mendon has never. So mixed-use development would be, and that was what the proposal we put before the town for the corner was a mixed-use development. And it got voted down because I don't think sometimes people get hung up on what is and what isn't for the town of Mendon, and they get caught up more in that and then what's actually good for Mendon. Believe me, I spend a lot of my time, volunteer time, doing research. I mean, at one point in working for this town for the last 13 years, I spend more time on Mendon than I did on my own business. Fortunately, I have great people that work for me. I didn't have to worry about it, but zoning and planning is an entirely different animal. And that's why this board is probably the most important board in town. I'll take a motion. Oh, did you want to add something?
May I make one request?
Sure.
For the peer reviews, specifically the traffic and the public water system.
Yep.
We'd ask if possible that the review consultants take a look at whether or not they have any concerns that would not be addressed by these more detailed state agency reviews and the NEPA process. So we don't get bogged down in something that's going to be dealt with later.
Sure.
We'd love to hear if they have concerns that won't be addressed.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'd like that.
Why don't you put that in an email to me? And I was planning on sending email to all 4 peer reviews anyway tomorrow. So we can light a fire under them and get this finished.
And certainly if you have something in particular you want to send to them, you can either send it through Jack or send it yourself.
Yeah, just make sure I'm
Send it to Jack
CC.
tomorrow.
All right.
We're gonna make a,
Continue.
yes.
You need to.
Yeah, we're hearing it. When's the next meeting? You guys gonna be ready for the next meeting?
As long as you're up here, review consultants have their comments.
All right, we can always continue forward if they're not prepared. Okay.
November
Yeah.
All
28th.
right, we'll,
November 28th.
Motion continue November 28th, 7 PM.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.
Thank you,
Hey,
everybody. for
Bill,
the
I gotta
questions.
go. Bill, as I told you, I gotta go, but I want to remind Gail to make sure you sign the revised Moneybrook decision.
It's already done.
Stop. Okay.
Completed.
You guys are good.
I know,
Thanks,
I
guys.
am.
We're awesome.
Nice.
Everybody, thank you for your questions too.
thank
That
you.
was very good questions.
Okay.
All right, yeah, we gotta get busy now. Okay, yeah, now that that one's done, yeah, you can go.
Snake.
All right, what's next here?
Yes.
That was a cruncher.
Freeman Place.
Oh, thank you for doing that.
University Barn Shop. I need my pen. I lost my. Did I?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You hadn't
got
put it
it.
in.
All right,
All right.
got my pen.
All right, let's
Get my pen
get the
back.
Patriots around.
All right. You're gonna be over by the time we
I
get
know,
out of
right?
here. All right, special permit for 8 Freeman Place. 6 Freeman
Freeman.
Place. So I don't have my glasses on.
She's on the screen.
Oh. Caitlin?
Yep, Caitlin Nick, 6 Freeman Place.
Go ahead. So you can tell us what you got going on.
Sure. So it'll be a mostly online business to help moms overcome postpartum and challenges of motherhood through Reiki and spiritual healing. Potential for one-on-one clients in person and up to 4 people Reiki training.
My only question, I don't take issue with it. My only question would be parking. I'm not sure 6 Freeman Place, but do you have enough parking for it not to be on street or?
They could be all in my driveway.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that'd be my only question. And I presume, there's no,
Most of it's online, it says here.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't have any issue. That's
Any questions? Anybody?
So it's no more than 4 people?
No.
oh, you're down on the end of the cul-de-sac too, so. Yeah. Yeah,
I can make a motion to approve the
it's a use.
use on home occupation for Caitlin and Nick
6 Freeman
at
Place.
6 Freeman Place.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Nope. Thank you. They're all set.
Like you got a showstopper
Yeah.
for you?
Well, we gotta get a decision complete,
That's what
or,
I mean.
yeah,
You'll let her know when. They'll let you know when ready to come down and pick up your paperwork.
Okay.
yeah, they'll just write a final decision for you. If you need something for currently, the minutes should suffice once we have the minutes done.
Okay.
All right,
you.
Thank you.
Just give me a call.
Sure.
all right.
47 Norfolk.
It looks like it's got 2.
Special permit hearing for, this is, all right, we got 2. One for Extractor LLC and one
They're
for
the same building.
Phoenix
Same-
Remedies. Yeah. So that one's done.
I think
Chairs.
you
That is
was out in front of us last meeting about when they brought a plan in. What was that month?
I don't know. It's been so long.
You guys were in front of
We have
conservation.
slides we
right?
can put up.
Come in front of conservation already, the last meeting?
No, not last. Solid.
What was the meeting you were talking about? That was here, then the last meeting we were talking about what you were gonna do about the one van parking inside or something.
So we have that all straightened out. Yeah,
That was here then, okay.
yeah.
All right, so this
You said you had
is the
slides?
plans for both, right?
You said you had
Yeah,
slides
it's,
still?
Notice.
Put them up for the people.
Old Teal rental, just everybody to know.
Yeah, we already,
We presently have a dispensary that's under construction there now.
Yep.
We're just looking to use the back end which would be for a delivery operation. We have a social equity candidate that is able to do that. And also product manufacturing, which would encompass the remainder of the back of the building. And if you look at the, I don't know if that's just the site plan. What I have here also is a floor plan, the interior, which just sort of breaks out, if you have that.
Last time.
Right, and that, the question the last time was how we were gonna handle the van.
Yeah.
What we did is, on the plan, you'll see there's an external sally port that will be encased, so the van will not physically go in the building. It will be parked outside in the sally port. Sure.
Excuse me, Bill,
Yes.
did you read the ad that was posted in the paper?
Oh, no, I did not. Actually, let me read that. Thank you, Gail.
Which one are you doing? Well, they're both on the same one,
Both on
so,
the same thing, but
yeah.
where is it?
yeah.
I can read the. All right. In accordance with MGL Chapter 48, Section 11, notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held on Monday, October 24th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Mendon Town Hall to consider a special permit pursuant to Section 12 of the Mendon zoning bylaws submitted by Todd Sullivan of Mendon Extractor LLC at 114 Turnpike Road, Westboro, to build out 3,896 square feet of the total 7,500 square foot building. It was in the paper on 10/7 and 10/14. Property is located at 47 Milford Street. Oh, actually, the application was submitted by Todd Sullivan of Phoenix Remedies LLC, also 114 Turnpike Road, Westboro, Mass.
You're just basically putting a temporary like carport type of thing out on the back.
Well,
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, it's not temporary, it's not permanent. It's not, you're not building a foundation, you just.
no, it's just gonna be fenced in.
Fenced it,
Yeah.
yes.
So what about the existing overhead doors? Are they gonna be sealed off or what's going on with those?
You gonna break them up or something like that?
Yes.
Um,
Vehicles won't be able to drive in those.
I guess the glaring issue that I think most towns are dealing with right now with these facilities is the aroma. Now, I know Uxbridge has decided to go to a peer reviewer to determine whether what you have done is adequate to resolve that, because where you guys sit, there's an awful lot going on around you, including a drive-in. So I'm very concerned about what the aroma is going to be around that place.
So we're not, most of the aroma from cannabis facilities are from cultivations.
Yeah.
Significant aroma. We're not cultivating that. We're simply have a dispensary, delivery operation, and a solventless extraction facility, which does not involve any cooking or anything of the product. It's frozen and then pressed to get the oil out. We have very minimal, if any at all, aroma coming from that.
Basically, you're gonna just be selling then.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, if you go like around any of those other places, you don't really smell it.
No.
Carol's Cannabis, like the one in Hopedale.
Well, no, he's not talking about, he's still doing some manufacturing in the bag. He's putting it into-
They're gonna be
We're not
extracting
growing
all.
it, though. The aroma comes from the cultivation. So as it grows, as it ages, you have 30,000 square foot of grow.
Does anyone have any history with?
I don't. I know the one in Medway is a growth facility. That's the one that smells.
Yeah.
One in Milford, oh, the one in Milford is too. I mean, that's a very big facility.
Yeah, those, they're like the Uxbridge ones. They
Yeah,
have
they're
the
very
same
big.
problem. Now, it sounds like you guys aren't doing that, but how much of an assurance can we have that we're not gonna have that issue? I think it's money well spent for Mendon, to at least, it shouldn't take them long, if what you're telling me is true, to have the peer reviewer look at it. And he should be able to determine right away whether that's accurate or not. And I'd feel better myself that I'm representing the town of Mendon, like I should be.
Yeah, as far as the extraction, again, to what Todd said, because we're not taking the physical plant itself, we're gonna be dealing, with, it's, the plant's already harvested, and that's where you get most of the, odor is from the harvesting of the plant.
Mhm.
We're already gonna get, it's already gonna be basically dry.
Then his job should be quick. The peer review should be able to do this really quick for us. So I think Jack has that information for that peer review. He uses them in Uxbridge. Jack also represents Uxbridge also. So if you use that peer reviewer, they should be able to get something back to us really fast. I mean, I just don't think as a planning board, and you guys can agree or disagree, but I don't think as a planning board, I'm not representing the town of Mendon properly if I don't have a peer review done.
Do we want to prove contingent? Like, I mean, with this, the revised plan with the carport and everything, I mean, the fenced in area. I mean, now they're just.
Well, I'd hate for them to go forward and start building.
No, I
build-outs and
understand that, but
everything
I'm saying.
without approval.
So they don't have to, if
They
we
don't have to
get,
come back.
they don't have to come back. We can say, okay, listen, you don't move forward until we get the peer review done.
We still haven't even set this up for bid for construction. So we
Right,
don't
so you
see
gotta
it
wait.
another month.
Well, then I guess if it's not a big deal, then we can just set, you want to just continue until the next meeting, until the peer review?
I'd rather have it with the petition. You have to come back quick. I mean, if everything comes back in a couple of years.
Well, we're not gonna allow a building permit until this matter is resolved, so you're not gonna start building anyway.
No,
So,
he said he hasn't even,
yeah.
do you want to approve contingent to the?
We can, so he can, but my
Then he can
my
just-
only issue is if it comes back, derogatory, then you're gonna have to put everything on hold until, if you're comfortable with that, this is at your own risk type of thing.
I wouldn't start, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You can't start until you get a building permit.
Why don't we just wait until the next?
Yeah, let's
meeting?
just.
We can do that.
All right.
You know?
Yeah, get
I
your
think
peer
that'd be-
review and then we'll get it done.
Yeah. And like I said, if what you're saying is true, the peer review should be quick and,
Yeah,
Okay.
If road is not an issue, then I don't see a problem.
Or anything else you want before the next meeting, so.
Actually, we went over this pretty thoroughly. I particularly did, and
That's all we
I
had
mean,
for the
it-
last time, right?
the building, all you're looking for is a special permit to do it. And the only thing I'd have against, that happening there would be if we weren't able to handle the aroma. Other than that, I'm, not against it at all.
Right, so I'm gonna make a motion.
I can make a motion to continue the hearing for 47 Milford Street till November 28th.
That'll give you
Is that our next meeting?
Is that gonna be enough time?
Next meeting is the 28th.
28.
Yeah.
By then you should, hopefully we'll have everything back, maybe short. and
If not,
sweet.
then we'll just continue it again.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, I think it'll be back by then. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna be,
No,
I mean,
it's
we're
like
not
they gotta
talking
do a
about a
traffic
huge,
study or something, I mean.
it's not like a huge facility either.
Is this for both of them? The
Yes.
Mendon
Yes.
Extractor
Yes.
and the
Yes.
Phoenix
Yeah,
Remedy?
that will.
Put them both on just like you had them on tonight.
Okay,
Second that
and
motion.
both are having reviews on both of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Jack will take,
Jack, but they
It's all the
can't.
same.
Yeah, and make sure Jack is brought up.
let him review both.
Yeah, why don't we put them, do them together?
The
That
whole
way,
building, it's all in one
nothing
shot.
gets mixed up.
We've got both.
Yeah, I mean, because Jack's gonna write the decision on it, so it'd be better if, he's here to put everything in a nice little package. Yes, Bob?
Chairman, Bob Sweet, 50 Medford Street. Did the old Green Mountain Tropics, they ever become an extractor as well? Do you know
The building's empty.
it's empty?
Yeah.
Because it was under the impression that it was spoken, I didn't know if you guys were gonna be.
No.
That's Hopedale.
That's Hopedale
That's
anyways.
Hopedale, nothing to do with us.
It would have given you an idea of what
Oh.
it would have smelled like or dealt with or.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not, that place is empty right now. I think somebody might own that, but they haven't done anything with it yet.
Okay.
They might, anyway.
I was just.
Who seconded the motion?
That's all.
Who seconded?
Barry, okay,
Barry? Okay.
okay.
Take a vote.
No, all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
See you on the 28th.
See you on the 28th. And just Touch base with Jack tomorrow. Him and I had the conversation today, so he's well aware.
23 Cape
Okay,
Road, Middle.
thank
You so much. Have a good night.
Okay.
Next.
This job used to be easier when we were just doing subdivisions.
Pond Meadow Road.
Yeah, we got road acceptance.
Yeah, road acceptance.
Is that what we got next?
Pond Meadow State. Bob Reed,
Oh.
he left. He took so long, he left.
He did leave.
Yeah.
We should have tried to get him in. Sooner.
I know.
Feel bad
I didn't
for him.
realize it.
Neither did I. Oh, what the
I mean, I
hell?
think that's all good to go.
Bill,
Oh.
did James lead the meeting?
Pond Meadow Estates road acceptance. The only thing we had outstanding on that was the deed. Did the deed get done?
Bob left. All
And Jack's not here.
right,
Continue.
continue. Well, let me see if,
Oh, did we get a deed?
The deed was written, but it wasn't sent in.
Was it
Enough.
recorded yet?
Well, no, it was recorded, but they didn't give it to the select board in time for the November 14th.
But is it done?
The deed for Bruce?
Yes. He said it was,
Hold on one second. We're gonna get an answer.
did Jack leave also?
Jack had to leave the meeting. He had a prior engagement, so he said he would be leaving about 8:30, 8:45, and he did. It's gone.
I guess we won't be doing,
They didn't submit it in time to the select board for the town meeting, Bill.
It really doesn't matter.
but they had a placeholder.
Not on Pond View.
No.
They had to get
No,
the
they
deed.
didn't,
We're gonna hold a place if they had the deed recorded from Bruce's.
yes, all set.
okay. All right, so the deed's all set.
Residents approved it and everything, so the lawyer, their attorney approved it and.
Okay.
So it's good, we just.
Do we have a Mylar or anything to sign for that?
No.
All right, so we just have to accept it. Well,
But too late for the town meeting anyway.
it's too late for the town meeting anyhow.
Right.
Okay, well, we can get it. I'll just clean up the. no.
I thought they were gonna put a placeholder in there, but
Which.
They didn't,
We
yeah.
get one thing about, does the planning board want to make a positive recommendation to the zoning board about the Thursday night? Hastings Street. John's asking,
John,
they're not.
oh, yeah,
What's up
yeah, we'll
with it?
deal with it after, at the end.
So what's next?
We did the 81P.
Yeah, we got,
Site plan.
we need to approve the road acceptance for Pond Meadow. We just need a vote.
I'll make a motion to approve, to accept Pond Meadow Estates road, the road acceptance for Pond Meadow Estates.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
I got the information.
we have the, application for a special permit for 23 Cape Road.
Sure. Good evening, Chairman Ambrosino and fellow members of the planning board. My name is Connor Downey from Blue Water Property Group LLC, the proponent or the applicant for the proposed project at 23 Cape Road in Mendon. I'm in front of you tonight to respectfully request that you deem our application for the project completed and vote to hear the application in a public hearing. Since we were last in front of you last November, we've made significant progress in our diligence and pre-permitting efforts on the site, which have driven a number of changes to the site plan that you saw last year.
Could I just hold you up 1 second?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gail, do you have, the packages for this? No, it's not, we don't have it. Is the,
This is no, this is just. Set a public hearing.
yeah, I just need to make sure we've got everything.
This is the motion, right?
This is just the application, leave vote to hear the application. So you guys will hear the
Submission.
application. Yes, exactly.
I just don't want any.
Yeah, I gotta make
people
sure.
Concerned about asking questions and stuff when it's not a hearing.
Yeah, and I gotta make sure we have everything too. All right, is there any way you can, probably sometime in the next few days, this, memorandum in support of the request? Could you email that to all the members of the planning board?
I can email it. It should,
Yeah.
Gail, I think you should have it electronically. I sent everything to Jack.
All right, he did not send this out to us. I'd like an opportunity to review it before the public hearing.
Absolutely. I'll connect with Jack on that.
Yep. Okay, you got your Form Ns, that's good. Good. Now, did Jack discuss with you, once we move forward here, that we're gonna require, peer reviews on all your engineering?
Absolutely.
This is the actual application.
There's the actual
With the
application.
check, that's what I was looking for, the check.
Yeah.
The most important thing.
We got it right here.
Yep.
Okay. And you said you emailed a lot of this stuff to Gail?
I emailed it to, I think to Jack. I'm not sure if I emailed it to.
All right, I'll check
If I
with
have-
Jack.
If I have it.
I'll check with Jack tomorrow.
Bring them on, Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
Order.
It looks, we've got all the Form Ns, we got, the check. We've got all the materials.
Want to add it to November 28th?
I think we should.
Make a motion to add 23
Um,
Cape Road,
Yeah, it's,
public hearing.
just so you're aware how we've walked forward with, like, the Hastings Street project is the peer reviews may not be back.
Yep.
It's up to you whether you want to come to the meeting or continue.
Sure.
There's plenty of stuff we could probably go over at that,
Yep.
the first meeting. But until all the peer reviews are back, it's going to be hard for us to do a lot. So,
November 28th, 7 PM.
Second.
We will have that other Hastings Street one going on, so it might be a little,
That's okay.
you know, so if the peer reviews aren't back. think about it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Sure.
That the board asked the applicant to make the electronic plans and whatnot available via the website ahead of the.
It's all public anyway, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll just have to get somebody to put it up on our website, but yeah.
Also be available.
But once they're completed, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime anybody wants any of this information, just reach out to Jack and he'll be able to get it to you.
Speaking from electronic.
Yeah, no problem. It's, yeah, on either project. You're welcome to the peer reviews. That's why we did them. So you get with Jack and, get those rolling and we can get this moving along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
November 28th.
Later, Bill.
We got the application, so we got to set a public.
Hey. No, not you. The big guy back there.
long as you have
Can
it.
you, just come up here for a moment? This is off topic for the planning board, but very quickly, did you get that thing I emailed, regarding operation of, for the master plan?
Oh, yeah, without saying questions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't see anything on there.
well, I think they were just looking for the operation of the fire department, you know, just kind of a. I think it would, we were looking for it from every department. So it didn't kind of just,
I didn't see anything specific for fire department.
no, it's just asking every department to
You got plans for
break
this too,
down.
right?
Because we're trying to do a resources, piece within the master plan.
Yeah.
Right, sorry about that. I should have sent you, and Dave didn't answer me either, so he probably didn't see police department, so he probably figured, so I'm gonna call Dave tomorrow too.
Yeah, we'll get on it.
All right,
You have a deadline?
as soon as,
Trying to get it done.
yeah, we're trying to wrap it up, but if, any time by the end of November, if you could.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Not a problem.
all right,
Thanks, chief.
thanks.
So
All right,
this is, Charles, I mean, this is
top of
that
that
guy.
East, this
So
is,
they got
This
everything.
is Harry O's.
yeah, this is Harry O's.
Yeah, we got
Ariel's
Bob
place.
left again. We got all our Form Ns, we got the check.
So we're just,
We're just gonna set a
set a
hearing.
hearing
The
date.
hearing date,
You want it, do
Just
you
a
want?
minute.
I don't think we should put any
That's
more
what I
on.
mean, that's what I'm
the
saying.
28th.
Yeah, we've got too much on the 28th. He's gonna have to go off till the next meeting. Gail, I need you to keep track though
December 12th.
of the number of days we have to act.
Do you want to do a
Okay,
continue?
for,
What?
Want to set it for for this next one and continue it? So you don't get into that date numbers thing?
You know, what, yeah, why don't we put it on the 28th? And then if we need to, we can continue. Because we're dealing with the number of days ordinance and I don't want to get into a
from
constructive.
date of submittal, you mean?
Yeah,
And you know what? And we
yeah,
kinda
you got
have-
45 days and if we don't meet that,
Right.
we'll be screwed.
What is 147?
Gas station,
Oh,
yeah. Yes.
Across from Duncan there, kinda, you know.
He had submitted once before and we had approved it actually as
Oh, right.
a gas station project. Then he changed it
2011.
for,
Yeah, right. Not done
he was
that long.
doing like a residential, project, almost a 40B, several, small duplexes or something.
I know where the lot is, it's where the back goes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Month and a half.
yeah.
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 So then he's decided to go back to a gas station again. I don't know.
I know there's down there that were.
Yeah. But he's flipped around a little bit. So we need a motion.
Make a motion to set the hearing for November 28th for 147
147.
Ave East.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that?
Barry did.
Barry.
Bye, John. Barry and John. together.
Bye, John, yeah. All right, and we have, what was that, here, John, wanna? I would like to discuss with the board, the issue of Thursday night's meeting with the zoning board.
Still
for-
recording?
Yes. Yes, this is, for, the Hastings Street project. And, I think we should throw a measure of support to the zoning board. It's my opinion.
I agree.
So we all agree?
Yeah, so.
Okay, so
Okay.
planning board recommends.
Planning board recommends the ZBA that we are in favor. Basically,
Okay.
Just so there's something in
Special
writing.
permit and the variance.
I mean, John's ZBA, so.
Motion will adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor? Now you can stop,
Disappear.
now you can stop recording.